Hi all, Sharon Slater here. Today we're going to look into making the most of the Irish civil registration records. We're going to be using a number of websites today, so as usual I'll leave a link into the description below to those websites as we go through them. The civil registration started in Ireland in 1845. At that time it was for all marriages except those that took place in Roman Catholic churches. From January 1st, 1864, all births, marriages and deaths that took place anywhere in Ireland had to be registered. A number of years ago, the Department of Culture, Heritage and the Gaeltacht created the irishgenealogy.ie website, where they have posted a number of civil registration records, including the original records for births up till 1918, marriages up till 1943, and deaths until 1968. So we're just going to dive straight in here to the civil records, and we're going to start as we did with our last episode in the census records with John Smith. I'm going to leave the rest of the spaces blank to see how many we come out with. Now, when logging into the site, you're going to have to complete a CAPTCHA. So to complete the CAPTCHA, we just tick the box, and on this clue, we just have to figure out all the images that have a motorcycle. And here it shows up records for John Smith. Occasionally, in the last step, it will ask you to complete another section with your name, first name, surname, and to tick a box saying that you agree to the usage policy of the site. I have already completed that, so I went straight through to this search result page. So there's search results for John Smith. We have 9,322 records of John Smiths who born, died, or were married in Ireland. So now we want to take our record down a little bit. So we know that our John Smith was born in Limerick. So on the side here, all of these are registration districts. And we come to an issue with registration districts is because there's multiple names that you may not recognize, and each county had multiple districts in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the next website just to give us a hint with these and where we should be looking. So this website is S. Wilson's website, and it shows the registration district map. So you can put in for County Limerick, because that's what we're looking for, but it has all the other counties there. And it'll show you the civil registration districts for County Limerick. So all of these are places that would have been recognised as county as in Limerick. What's handy about this website is, we'll take CAPTCHA, which is in the county Limerick and Cork. We click on that, and it shows it up on a map here. So we see CAPTCHA is in the centre. So, but it also shows adjacent civil registration districts. So there's this one here in Mallow, or this one here in Mill Street. So if your family was located around this area, then they could have been registered in Mill Street or in CAPTCHA. Okay, so it shows all of the ones in the local area. So see, like Drumcolor here, it could have, if somebody was on either side, could have been in Kilmallock or in Newcastle West, where the or Kanturk, where the registration would have been taking place. So when we go back to this page here, you can see the different registration areas. You can either select them, so that's for Newcastle West, or you go right down here and you type in the registration area that you're thinking of. Now, our John Smith we know was in Limerick City, so we just need to put in Limerick at the moment for him, and we'll see. And we're looking for his birth at the moment, so we tick the birth box. Okay, we search that. Now we've narrowed down our search to 31. On the census record, it said that John Smith was 7 in 1911. The census took place in April 1911, so that means that he could have been born from 1903 or 1904, depending on when his birthday landed. But also there could have been some disparity in his age when he was recorded, so we're going to put in 1900 to 1905, just to give us a wide enough gap to be able to narrow it down further. So we search here, and we have 6. But some of these show up with the mother's surname Smith, but we're looking for a John Smith on his own. So we have the top one here, looks like the most likely, because if John Smith was 7 in April 1911, he would have turned 8 in relating to August. So we click on this here, and at the bottom here it has an image. So we click on the image and we find our John Smith. Now we do know that this is the right John Smith because his father's name was Richard and his mother was Mary and his father was a carpenter. And now we have an extra clue of his mother's surname being Dillon. Okay, and John here, his birth took place in the Lying In Hospital, which would have been the maternity hospital, and this would have been the one on Bedford Row in Limerick. But it also has his home address, which is 4 White Wine Lane. Right, so now that we've got his mother's name, Dillon, we can go back, and at this stage in the records, as we saw, they had the mother's surname. So from about 1900, I think, onwards, they had the mother's surname as well as the child's birth name. So here we go into the more search options. Now, and we have the child's name as Smith. And we want to look at a birth. And we know the registration area is Limerick. And the mother's surname is Dillon. So what this is going to show us is all children whose birth name was Smith, whose mother's maiden name was Dillon. So what we have here is 5 that are showing up for that period of time. One thing I'm going to note here is this website is more intuitive when it comes to spellings of names. So Smith is come up both as S-M-I-T-H and S-M-Y-T-H. So what we'll have to do is check some of these to make sure they are the same family. So we look at Susan here, who was born 10 years later in 1914. And Susan, yes, father's name Richard Smith, chairmaker, which would make sense for a carpenter, at 2 Lock Key, and his mother and her mother Mary Dillon. Alright, so we do that again for all of these records to see if it's the same family. So that's how to find children from a particular marriage in a particular area. Okay, we're going to go back up to the civil records and we'll go into the more search options again. I find that it's always best to go into the more search options, especially if you have a more common name, to try and narrow down what you're searching for. And we'll just go for a John Smith again. And this time we're going to keep it to exact matches only. Right? So it's going to exclude any Smiths with a Y. We're going to go for a marriage. We haven't decided who we're going to have a marriage for yet. We'll click the marriage and we'll take a marriage from 1880 until 1890. Now perhaps we have our John Smith and we know that his marriage probably took place between 1880 and 1890 and his spouse was a Mary. Now we'll search this. So we have 36 records of a John Smith marrying a Mary. Now here you can see the registration areas again, and with using the registration district map. So if you see one of the areas and you don't recognize it, so let's go with Granard. Perhaps you don't know where Granard is. So we go back up to our district map and we use this second drop down menu for the registration district. And we see Granard. We wait for it to flip over and it'll show us here where Granard is. Now you can take the map out a little bit and see if that location is whereabouts you know your family were from. And again, it's got the nearby registration districts, and if you zoom in on the map, as this is a Google map, it'll show you the actual areas. And as you can see here, you're on the border of County Cavan and County Longford, so that might give you a clue as to if this was the person or people you were looking for. So we go back to this family, to John Smith and Mary Donahue, and in Granard, and we'll check the image to see if that helps. So we've got John Smith, bachelor farmer, full age. This means that he was over the age of 21, and same with Mary, she was over the age of 21 when the marriage took place, is what full age means. On this record it shows that his father Dan was deceased, was dead at the time. They can have dead or they can have DEC for deceased in this section, and that'll give you a clue as to the date for their parents. It has the residence at the time of marriage and the father's occupation. Okay. Here is another small clue as well. The name is marked with an X and her name is marked with an X, meaning the most likely that this couple were illiterate. Right. It also shows you the marriage took place in the Roman Catholic Chapel of Mullahorn and where the registration district was. And the area in Granard in the county of Cavan. So now that we've got a marriage, we are going to go up into the civil records again to start a new search, and we're going to go for our John Smith, and we're going to go with death this time. Okay, so we press a search. So again, we've got 2,489 deaths for John Smiths, covering all of Ireland, covering all of the registration districts. So we're going to have to narrow this down a bit. So we'll narrow it down by year. So our John Smith, we know, died in 1880. 1887. So I put in 1887 and we'll search for that. So now we've got 27 who died in 1887, and luckily with the death records it shows the age at death. Okay, so if we go into the more search options, you also have the option here to put in the age at death. Alright, so we'll just go into the first one of these death records. Is for John Smith, died 1887, Athlone, age 80. So we have John Smith, he died 15th of March 1887 in Barrymore. He was married, he was army pensioner, and this one gives us this little bit more information. He was a late of the 3rd Regiment. He died of old age. He had no medical attention. The person who recorded his death was a Bridget Brown, who was also from that area. So that might give you another clue as to who Bridget Brown might be. She might be a daughter who Brown is her married name. Again, she marked with an X. When it comes to death ages, always be careful, because they were recorded by the people giving the information. They didn't always have the information themselves. We'll go back here. Now we'll just go back one more and look at this John Smith, who died in Belfast when he was 0, to see how a death certificate for a child is different than that for an adult. So we'll go down here, find our John Smith. John Smith, he's here. And here is his address, 6th of January 1887 he died, bachelor. He was 14 days old, and this includes the name of his father and his father's occupation. And his cause of death. And here it also has his mother's name, which is very handy, and her mark again. Now, what if your family, if you're looking for a person who was born, married or died after the cut off for this website? So then you have to go and check the registration index. The registration index is available on the Church of the Latter-day Saints websites. It's called Family Search, and this has the index from 1845 for those early marriages until 1958 for the Republic of Ireland. It has up until 1921 for the North of Ireland. So we'll go with our John Smith, and we'll give him an actual confirming that these are his name. So we'll search. Now with the Family Search website, you're going to have to log in. I've logged in already. It's a free website. You just need to create an account and log in. So we have our John Smith here. So we want to check for his birth, and we'll put in his birthplace, his birth year from 1943 to 1944. And we'll update. So we have 60 for those periods, and here we have records of that show the mother's maiden name as well, and they show the registration district. Here are some that are outside of the remit, but they pull them in with the search as well. But these are the ones we want to focus on because these fit our criteria. So we'll just check John Smith in Dublin South, and I'll give you this information, which includes the volume number. It includes the birth type, the quarter that the birth took place, the event place, again the quarter, the mother's maiden name, the registration district, and the volume of the that the search was in. Okay, and when you have this information, you're going to have to apply to the General Register Office. We'll pop that open here, and it has the details here of how to order certificates. You can order copies of certificates with photocopies by email. So if you click that, you'll read the information. For genealogy and research purposes, you only need this one, the photocopying, which is €4. So you can apply online and pay online by giving the information that appears here. This information will help them to find this individual in the records, and they'll be able to copy that cert and email it back to you. That is most of what you can cover in the registrations. There are probably a few more tips and tricks that you've picked up along the way. As with all transcription services, again, always remember that there could be transcription errors. So try names in multiple fashions. Try the names in opposites as well. When you're doing the registration district, remember that it could be in the next registration district that's next to the further over. So check the neighbouring registration districts. Give a large range of year and narrow it down, as opposed to being very specific about the year to begin with. So we're going to leave this one here, and again I'm going to leave all the links in the description below. Take care.